So now, with great pleasure, I'd like to invite Evgenia Grigorieva, CMO at Headhunter. She will tell us how to work in marketing and do this work, not just formally. Hello, can you see and hear me? Yes, now I can see and hear you. Thank you so much for joining. Let's support and welcome Evgenia by fires, as per tradition. So once you're ready to speak, let me know and I will launch a presentation. Thank you for coming. Thank you for having me. With great pleasure, today I'll share my stories with you and my cases related to Headhunter company. So I'm ready to start. So if you launch my presentation, that would be amazing. So marketing not as a formality. Before I move on to the stories, I'd like to tell you about the context a little bit. And for that purpose, I'll tell you about Headhunter. I'm sure that many of you know this company. It's a large organization that enables employers search for candidates and for candidates to find the dream job. We have 60 million registered users, 10 million find a job on the yearly basis, and we're large, even if you compare us with our global counterparts. But today, we know that the labor market is not easy. It's complex. And there are many difficulties and challenges that are created by the political situations. There's also the structural imbalance present on the market. So, for example, white-collar specialists find it harder and harder to find a job, and they have to reconsider the situation and look into other directions. As for the blue collars, they are coming to the forefront, and we can see a lot of headlines saying that in the winter time, couriers, delivery guys can earn more than an IT specialist per month. And it is true. In 2024 and 2023, there were more job openings. So today it is harder for candidates to find their dream job, which they aspire to get. Another context that I should mention is related to the global developments. On a daily basis, I read social media, I watch, what other people say. There are many questions. Will AI substitute me in the future? Will I be hired if I don't know something, if I don't know how to work with AI? So it causes a lot of concerns. People worry, will they be laid off? Do they need to learn new skills? What skills they should learn? What should be done? Maybe a completely different type of job should be considered, the job that's not related to AI at all. So all these processes create concerns. And if we look at the marketing field, I ask myself the following question: how to make sure that people who are looking for a job will know about our product, will want to publish their CV, how to make sure that employers who are seeking for candidates would create the job position, would publish a job position, would do it on our website. You know, when you get hired or leave a job, it's always related to stress. When you seek for a job, you never know if what you're doing is correct. There are always difficulties and challenges surrounding the job topic. And we usually rely on the 3 levels of problems according to the Historia Academy framework by Donald Miller. So the first type of problem is the external situation. Currently, the economy is not living through its best times, and we know that even those people who are not seeking for a job right now are still updating their CVs on the platform because they want to know what salaries are offered today, what is going on the labor market, what jobs are available on the market. People want to be in the context to stay updated. They want to know what's going on. And we can see the common wish to make sure that everyone, each of us, meets the requirements of the market. So this is problem one. Problem two is that it's really hard to find a job. People apply and they try to compare their experience with what is offered on the market. On the other hand, we can see a lot of applications and CVs that employers have to process, and this is a huge amount of work. If a company doesn't have a systemic process of reviewing all these applications and CVs, it's very hard to consider the candidates in a timely manner and give a feedback. For each person, it's important, if you're not hired, to know why. What is there something wrong with me? What should I do? And now we come to the third level of the problems. This problem is related to disappointment and fear. You don't know what's going on, what's happening to you. Maybe you're not valued. Why? What to do next? What is my career path? What is my career track? What could it be? And when we think through the communication and the marketing, we rely on these 3 points. These are the touch points with our target audience. So how to make sure that we can reduce the level of anxiety, how to help people believe in themselves, how to make sure that they don't give up, how to make sure that they understand what is going on around them. And we're trying to use stories to do that because stories is something that people know. The 3 cases that I'd like to share with you today will outline what approaches we adhere to. So we decided to resort to humor. Well, it may sound strange, but work and job is all about the difficulty, but humor helps us. It helps us take a different look on a situation. Yes, it is risky from the standpoint of a brand to go into humor, but that's what we did. And it's not the first time that I'm working with a humor in this field of knowledge, and I can see positive results and the support that it gives to people. The second one is the inspiration and the support. And the third one is the irony. So in a couple of seconds, I'll explain what I'm talking about. So the first project is related to the story, not for the sake of the formality. So in chat, tell me, what do you do during your day, not as a formality? So what is it? Brushing your teeth, saying good morning in an elevator to your neighbor, or is it going for a jog? You know, there are things during the day that we do that are not as a formality. And we decided to talk about that and suggest that the market should tell us their story. What does the market do, not as a formality? And we've seen a significant feedback on the market, and we couldn't expect such a scale. And 20 Russian brands joined us, and together they started to explain what they do, not as a formality, what they do, not for the sake of a show. And a lot of stories were integrated into the external marketing, and some companies have even integrated these ideas and these stories into the internal communication within the company. What do their employees do, not for the show's sake? And the story that goes viral is a successful story. Here you can see a banner that I saw in the street. You know, this is a standard banner that usually informs you about the speed limitations, and even on the roads, if in Moscow, you could see this integration of a story. You should put a helmet, not for the show's sake. You know, equipment is not uh, for the show's sake. It is something that you do for yourself. And I was happy to see this kind of example. And it's very pleasant when uh, people would leave feedback, positive feedback, and say that we thank you for what you do. You know, many people are irritated and annoyed by your marketing, by your ads. But when you see that people, instead of being annoyed, say thank you, that is the goal that you want to achieve. Well, by the way, it's not the end of the presentation. I'm just saying it because here you can see the word the end.
Сказать родителям, что работать с тетей Любой – это не предел мечтаний, ей было как-то неудобно.
В смысле неудобно? Да я сама найду классную работу, даже без опыта. Главное делать то, что мне нравится. А опыт? Ну, придет со временем. Устраивайся поудобнее. Ха-хару.
Да, спасибо большое.
Thank you. So this promotion campaign included not only this video, but it also included the digital field. But this video is very descriptive when it comes to the story. We know how hard it is for the youth to make the first step. There's a lot of concern, a lot of anxiety. They don't yet understand what is their strength, what they want to do. And I often speak before young audiences, and once I received a question from a young man. He said, Evgenia, could you tell me what I should do next? I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, in every sense of this word. So it is really hard for them. They want to see support. They want to be directed. Well, parents usually do that, but it is just the stance of a parent, the position of the parent, and they formulate it in the form of an order, you know. But young specialists cannot be super experienced if they're just at the beginning of their career path. They want to be supported, and this promotion campaign focused on the support. You know, we clearly understand that you don't have enough experience, but you have other advantages. You are strong. You have a lot of knowledge, energy, and when it comes to many other metrics, you are much better than those who have experience. And you can be really cool if you don't have enough experience. So this is the motto of this video, and it inspires the youth to approach us and to try their best. So this was our idea, to provide this emotional support and at the same time give the opportunity for youth to find a job, a part-time job or an internship that will later grow into something more. Well, I also mentioned irony, right? So how do we defend ourselves in the times of troubles? What saves us? We usually rely on our past experience. We would recall, you know, in the past we had a culture that was better. In the past, promotion campaigns were better, but today's marketing is in decline. You know, that's just what we usually do. But I wanted to get rid of this devaluation process. I wanted to show that each generation, each epoch has something amazing, something really cool. Nostalgic feelings should be respected, but we can rely on the past experience and take something from the past and use it in the
А как вы нашли свою первую работу?
Да вышло как? Отучился на повара. Работу дали. Только вот не поваром, а помощником автослесаря.
Хочешь работы, не хочешь обратно ищи.
О, как было.
А эту работу как нашли?
Хотел поваром, нашел поваром. На КХРУ.
На Хохору зашел.
Понятный сервис с 12 миллионами подходящих вакансий. kh.ru.
We produced a series of videos. It included 6 videos dedicated to different jobs. And we focused on the idea that is how it was like, how it used to be. And that's what we can see today. The times change and they give us new opportunities. And this is also true for the fears surrounding AI. In other words, we need to think, what gave me strength, skills, opportunities to reach the point that I've reached today? This story enables you to delve into the past and to feel the beauty of today. And that creates a positive connection and a positive perception among people. You know, it was really cool in the past. There were many cool moments. But today, everything is fine too. And of course, I really like feedback. And it's always such a pleasure to read this feedback. We had a lot of integration. We launched retro taxi project, and we did it just to show people what a taxi driver job used to be like and what has it turned into today. Well, I urge you to look for these videos and enjoy these nostalgic feelings. So we use humor, irony, and stories in our work, and this creates the possibility to use the insights of the audience and to interact with them. So these are the 3 key points. In conclusion of the presentation, I'd like to reiterate that is what's important for me. I hate the marketing of the jumping sausages. You know, that is what they call it. Of course, they bring leads for you, but what I stand for is for trying something real, something live. I value insights, and together with my team, we sometimes work on projects that require a lot of time. We worked on this not for the show or Galachka project for half a year, but as a result, we achieved a high level of integration with Russian brands. So if you are in communication, do your job well, because as a result, you will see the outcomes, positive outcomes, and you will enjoy this work. What is the marketing of the jumping sausages? That's a good question in the chat. Well, you know, there are some videos that focus on the generation of leads. You know, in other words, you show a sausage and you get the result. It works. This approach works, but I think you can come up with more interesting solutions that they can also bring you results. But you need to spend time. You need to work with your team to understand what story you want to tell. Oh, that will be my answer. That is all for my presentation, Artem. I think now we can move on to the questions. Amazing. Right, I think there should be other questions, not only the question about the jumping sausages. Well, my question would be this. What challenges have you seen and what challenges do your colleagues run into when you work with such live stories of real people? Well, it's the power of the conviction, I would say, of persuasion. I'm not just Zhenya Grigorieva. I work with a company. The company sets the business goals before me. So when I begin communication, my company and my clients need to know what it's for, what outcomes it'll bring. Each story that we work on, that we think through, has the outcome that we want to reach. The outcome is what we want people to take away. So if they about us, they act differently. They will speak positively about each other or do something. So you may say that this is emotional marketing. You create pictures for the sake of the pictures, but we use metrics, brands, business metrics. Based on them, we can understand what worked, what didn't work. So under the hood, you had a lot of analytical data that you rely on in decision making. And of course, you need to process the objections on the inside. And in marketing, each of us is a true artist. Thanks, great. Please send your questions in the chat. Elena is asking, how does work through stories impact the key? What is work through the story? It's what I want others to think about my brand. Or when I speak about work, when we speak about work, the first thing that comes to mind should be headhunter. If I am searching for a candidate, the first thing that I'll do, I will go to headhunter. So this is the marketing vortex. Choice number one, do they know me? Will they use my services? And finally, the real people that come to my platform. And I compare the gap with my competitors. And of course, I also connected with the times of the launch of my marketing campaign. And also we track what is memorized better. And as a result, you can see hit the bullseye or not. With time, the data amount grows, the metrics grow, and you see the coverage. And you can also see the savings in the budget. Right. So it's the business-like approach. It's serious, right? You also mentioned that the internal impacts the external. And you've outlined the 3 levels of problems, and it shows that you think about going viral because you know what it means, you know the meaning. What other convictions and values you include in this external communication? Our slogan has become the slogan of the inner team. We know why we know what we work for. And this phrase is about the meanings, because we search for a job not only to make money. Each of us has their own incentives, motives, ambitions. Someone wants to grow, to climb the career path. Others just have a simple idea. I want to make money to pay for the tuition of my child, or I have a grand idea I want to implement to make it true. So each has something big behind it. Meanings are behind each CV. So as a company, we're trying to see this double bottom, so to say. Well, like doing something not for the show, for the sake of the show. It means that every time we wake up in the morning, we know for what we're beginning our day. So for what purpose? And we want other people to be more emotionally open. So these are the inner meanings that I attach to that. It resonates with me a lot, working with meanings. And if I'm not mistaken, behind you in red, I can see the word meaning. You're right. Meanings are more important than noise. That is what the red poster says. Amazing. Oh, I can see the fire burning. I didn't even need to say that we should burn the fire for you. Right, so finally, by the way, I've shared the contacts of the speaker in the chat. So I have a traditional question to you. If we can select only one task that can be solved within the organization with the help of a story, what field or task would you choose? Well, I mean, marketing, the connections between people, innovations. Well, what one task would you trust stories? Well, for me, a story about the depth. A story gives you the opportunity to have a deeper look at the company or at a person. Well, on the market there are many brands, but only some brands are chosen because some brands tell a story and they can save some money on other things because they have the story that they tell. Well, there are some luxurious brands. Why are they luxurious? Why do they have this markup? They have the depth in the brand, and that is why people go and buy their product because it resonates with them. They believe that this brand suits them. So I would say depth. Thank you very much. What an amazing answer. So the fire burns for you. Thank you for joining our conference at the very end of the first half of this day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Artem, for having me. Bye. What a fiery block of the conference. Friends, I hope that you enjoyed this part of the conference. Now we'll have a short break. We'll resume at 5 p.m. Moscow time. But before you leave, I kindly ask you to leave feedback regarding what are your takeaways, what are your insights, what discoveries you made. It is very valuable for you and for the speakers who will receive feedback that you shared with them. It's important for them as well. They will understand the impact that they have. So this is the mutual sharing of feedback. So we're into more interesting speeches in the second half of the day.